Okay, so today we're going to talk about phase 3 trials. Many biotech stocks will update their movement of drugs through different phases of trials. When you get to phase 3, it's often the most important period for that drug. Now, phase 3 is the first time when you're testing that drug on large groups of human subjects. So, if the results come out well, it's great news for the company. The stock will probably rocket up. If the results come out and say, well, the drug didn't work, and there are a couple criteria for that, then the stock often drops. All right? So I had a request from a reader. He wanted me to do a statistical study to see what happens before and after the results of phase 3 trials. Actually, before the results of phase 3 trials, thereby testing how investors kind of anticipate the results of the phase 3 trial. Now, he asked me to do it on a handful of stocks. I wanted to look at a bigger sample size so the statistical study would be better, so that's what I did. I took a bunch of biotech stocks that had gone through phase 3 trials in the past, I think 5 years. You can check the link below to see the specifics of that study. But that's what I did. I ran that statistical study to see what happens with the stock price prior to phase 3 trial results. Now, there's a few things you need to know about phase 3 trials before we talk about the results of the study. First is, phase 3 trials are successful if they fulfill 2 criteria. The first is that the drug does what the drug is supposed to do. So if I am a creator of a drug that reduces manic episodes in bipolar disorder, then the drug's phase 3 trial results need to show that it actually does that. So there's a statistical significance in the difference of the people who took the control, who are in the control group, and the people who took the drug in terms of manic disorders, okay? Or manic episodes, right? So that's criterion 1. Criterion 2 is that the drug doesn't have any really strange adverse side effects. If it does have side effects, they need to be acceptable. Most drugs will have side effects, but they cannot both cure the illness and bring about something, almost equally painful or damaging. So, if a drug fulfills those 2 criteria, it passes the phase 3 trial, and then it can move on to the marketing phase of the drug, so it can actually be sold on the markets. That's what the companies are going for. Once you get past phase 3, you can actually sell your product in mass quantities and therefore make a large profit for both you and the shareholders. And that's what we're looking for. So in the past, phase 3 trials were usually successful. If you look at the statistics from about 10 years ago, you'll find that phase 3 trials were usually successful, something like they only failed 20% to 30% of the time. So if a drug got to phase 3 trials, which means it passed phase 1 and phase 2, then you're pretty confident it's going to pass phase 3 as well. That means you're pretty confident that a stock who has a drug that's in phase 3 trials is about to skyrocket. That was true until recently. That failure rate in phase 3 trials has been steadily going upward. And in the last 5 years, it's moved into the 50% region, and now it's at 60%. So while 10 years before, the majority of phase 3 trial drugs actually passed the phase 3 trials, today the majority of those drugs fail the phase 3 trials. So if you're going to bet on a stock, you're generally going to want to bet that it's going to fail the phase 3 trials. By the law of large numbers, by always shorting the stock, you'll probably make money. And I'm saying probably because there's more downside than upside when you short stock. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But the idea here is that in the past, phase 3 trials were almost a sure thing. But today, they're more likely than not going to be failures, all right? But we're going to talk about that in a second. But let's talk about the issue of the anticipation of the results of the phase 3 trials, okay? So here's what I did. When I started looking at the data, before I did any statistical analyses, I was doing data entry. I was collecting the data, I was putting it in, and I noticed a trend. It's a subjection from my standpoint. I noticed something and I wanted to test it, because what I saw was, it seemed that a month prior to the phase 3 trials, some stocks would go up, some stocks would go down, and it was very clear the difference between those stocks, and that is the stocks that would go up happen to be penny stocks, happen to be trading at below the $5 level, and the stocks that would go down happen to be trading above the $5 level. So I decided I was going to test that because, I see it, but I don't have the numbers or the statistics to back it up. But I ran a test, and indeed, that's what seemed to be happening. So if you have a big company like Merck that's going through a phase 3 trial, you're probably going to see Merck's stock go down prior to the release of the phase 3 trial results. But if you have a penny stock, you're going to probably see it go up prior to the release of the phase 3 results. Now, my interpretation of this phenomenon, the difference between the penny stocks and the big stocks, is that when you're invested in a big stock and the phase 3 trial fails, you have more distance to fall. You have more to lose. Your stock could go from $50 suddenly to $20. So a lot of investors will probably drop the stock prior to the phase 3 trial results and then maybe get back in later. Okay? But if you're a penny stock, generally the company that is trading at the penny stock level doesn't really have anything yet. So there's not much to lose. And the downside, you probably bought in at a low price, so the downside is not that much in terms of mere scale, right? So what happens if the phase 3 trial results come out to be positive in a penny stock? That penny stock might no longer be a penny stock. It might go from $2 to $50. So there's more upside for them. And that makes sense from just common sense, okay? So that's what I found. The strategy, therefore, would be, if a phase 3 trial result is coming out within the next month or so, and it's on a penny stock, you might want to buy. If it's on a bigger stock, you might want to short, and I'm going to tell you not to short, but to buy put options instead because it's safer. But that would be the strategy. However, keep in mind that the majority of phase 3 trial results are failures. These days, they are failures. So you're usually not going to be successful if you're betting upward, especially on a penny stock, because the company likely, I didn't look into this, but they likely fail more often than the bigger companies. That's my assumption, okay? So how do you use this for trading? Well, the only strategy I would really apply to this is I would do something like go to Google Alerts and type in phase 3 trial, all right? If you set that as a Google Alert, you will get an email every time some news article comes out about a company releasing phase 3 trial results. So type in phase 3 trial results into Google Alerts, you get those emails. Then if it's a stock trading at above $5, buy a put option on that stock. What will usually happen is, first of all, you got two ways to play it. First of all, you can just wait for it to go down before the release. Like we said, they usually fall before the release of the phase 3 trials. And then you can sell right before the release of the phase 3 trial results, or you can hold on expecting that there would be a failure, and that'll give you even more profit, but it's not a sure thing, okay? So that would be the main strategy, and I intend to play this strategy myself. I'm going to show you two stocks that are releasing phase 3 trial results pretty soon, and if you want to know specific put options to buy, just ask me in the comment section below, and I would tell you the put options that you should be buying that would probably be the most beneficial. But here are the stocks. So they are ARDX, and I know it's probably hard to see. The stocks are ARDX and ONCE, ONCE. Those are the two stocks that you're going to want to buy put options on if you want to play this strategy. But overall, just remember, phase 3 trial results on big stocks, usually the month before those results come out, the stock will begin to decline. Okay? So whatever your trading strategy is, account for that fact. Again, if you have any questions about the put options for these two stocks, please ask me in the comments below and I will get them for you.